welcome everyone. Welcome to Sale Focus. This is my very special guest, Beady. How are you today?
Hello, Brooke. I'm great. How are you?
Yeah, good. We're lucky that we actually got on. I
Can't
happened
believe we're
last
here.
camera. I got my phone out and I'm trying to get it happening. It's always the way at the last minute.
Excellent.
So you're a healer and you've got modalities just everywhere. You so much. So instead of me messing it up and telling everyone, can you just tell us about what you do?
Yes, I do a lot of different things. My background is in horticulture and agriculture. So when I discovered Young Living, I was really interested in learning more about how they operate things. So when I discovered about their farms and the fact that they grow all their own plants and do their own distillation, I was really excited about that. In addition to that, I have recently gotten involved with Access Bars, Access Consciousness. So I am a Access Bars practitioner now, and I'm slowly transitioning from my cleaning job, which I do. I've been doing for years, domestic cleaning, and transitioning into the Access Bars and foot reflexology. So that's basically where I'm at the moment. I do a lot of markets. So when I go to markets with my essential oils, I often do foot reflexology treatments too, but I think I'm going to incorporate the Access Bars in that as well.
So you'll be at the expo the weekend after next, the Adelaide Expo.
I won't actually. No, I won't be at the expo. I'm going to other events. There will be one at the Echidna Winery actually on the 29th of May. So they're going to start doing Let's markets there. I don't know if you're familiar with Let's. I'm a member of Let's, which stands for Local Exchange. What is it? Trading scheme. So it's basically a barter scheme. So when I have a market there, you can either purchase my products or services via federal dollars or barter dollars, barter arts, I guess they call them. Yeah. So it's a barter scheme. So that's what the winery is starting to do. So we'll be having monthly markets there, specifically to promote Let's, because I think there's going to be a lot of instability with our financial systems very soon.
Actually, that's not a bad idea, is it?
Yeah.
I never thought of it that way.
It's been around for a long time, but I don't think it's really become all that popular. It's really popular in more developing countries where people don't have a lot of money to throw around. So it's working really well there, and I think it'll become really exciting here in the not too distant future.
Awesome. What I ask all guests that come on the show is what led you into spirituality? Where did it all start for you?
Oh, I guess ever since childhood, I always sort of believed that there was some greater being that was watching over me somehow and protecting me and all of that. I grew up in a family of well, it was kind of mixed up really. I think my mother grew up as a Presbyterian. My father, I'm not sure what his faith was, Christian anyway. And both my parents got into Christian Science for a while, so I learned a little bit about that. And I eventually stumbled upon the Bahai faith in the late 1970s through a friend of mine, and it sort of put everything into perspective. It just sort of all the pieces of the puzzle came together for me, and I've been a Bahai since 1980.
Yep.
So yeah, that's my main focus in life, and everything that I read. Like I study a lot of books from other faiths, other religions, a lot of New Age stuff, and it always comes back to sort of back to my faith. Really, it sort of reaffirms what I already believe in many ways.
Now, you went to study that, didn't you, overseas? Faith?
I actually went to Israel as a volunteer to because their spiritual and administrative center is in Israel,
Yep.
along with three other major religions. So it really is the Holy Land for many faiths. But anyway, I went there as a volunteer, and because of my horticultural background and because of the fact that they were desperate for gardeners at the time, it was just really lucky that I got to go there. So I was there for 4 years,
Yep.
and I was working in the gardens, and we built greenhouses there to propagate our own plants because they have huge, beautiful, very formal looking gardens that embellish their holy places and buildings and surroundings.
So, so what is bar faith anyway? Because I've never
The
heard of it.
Baha'i faith.
There's a lot of things I've never heard of, so that's not surprising.
It is an independent global religion whose founder his name is Baha'u'llah, so hence we call ourselves Baha'is. He was born in Persia, and he proclaimed that he was the promised one that many other religious, what would you say, prophets have spoken above. So he was sort of the fulfillment of many prophecies of previous manifestations of God or messengers or whatever you want to call them, ascended masters. We have lots of different names for them. So Baha'is basically believe in progressive revelation, whereby there is, in various times, I guess, of need for humanity, when they need a new messenger to learn how to live properly, a new messenger comes along. So the only difference between them all is basically the time and place in which they occurred. So we believe in Buddhist tradition and Christian and Islamic and all the major faiths of the world. They all really have the same message, but they're just in different time and different place. And so that's really the major difference between them. So Baha'u'llah is the most recent of those messengers. And so basically he wrote many writings and teachings, and many of them are still being translated into English. And from English, they've been translated into some 600 or more languages.
So what made it stand out for you?
It explained why so many religions exist in the world, and it tied them all together into one common faith. Really, they all teach the same thing. They're all teaching us about love and unity and oneness and harmony of all beliefs. It's all really the same thing. It's just that throughout time things evolve and change, and humanity evolves and changes as well. Yeah.
Okay, so what was it that actually led you to this faith? Like were you doing something else before then, or you just decided to go? Or
well, I had neighbors who I became really close friends with, and I used to spend a lot of time at their house. They had two small children, and they used to invite me over for dinner a lot. They probably thought I was lonely. I don't know, but we made really good friends, and I used to spend a lot of time there, and they would talk about topics that were really interesting to me, a lot about virtues and how to live life, and they really lived a life that was an example for me to live by. They walked the talk basically. And I was just really impressed with what they believed in and what we talked about. They never actually mentioned the faith. They never mentioned Baha'i to me at the time, until one night I said, "This is really interesting. You guys have got something that I want to know more about. What is it?" And then that was when they sort of confessed. They said, "Oh yeah, well actually we're Baha'is, and we follow the teachings of the Baha'i faith." And so they invited me to talk one night, and I thought, "Oh, here we go. Here's the big hard sell. They're going to try and convert me and push me into this thing." And it was interesting because the only reason I went to that talk was because I kind of felt guilty because I had been over at their place, spending so much time there and eating all their food. And I thought, oh well, I suppose I should go. It'll make them happy. And I reluctantly went, but the speaker was just so incredible. I was just mesmerized by what he was saying, and it just made so much absolute sense to me that I thought this is really for me. I really want to be a part of this. And that's basically how it happened. I didn't become a Baha'i right away. In fact, I didn't even tell them that I had made this decision. I kind of kept it to myself for a long time.
Yep.
And then and then eventually I said that I really want to be a part of this, and that was in April of 1980. And so 6 years later, that was when I went to Israel, because it never even occurred to me that you could go there and see all these amazing places where they walked.
Yep.
And yeah, so that's
So,
history.
so what when you got to Israel, how did that change things for you?
Well, it's a pretty amazing culture.
Yep.
I loved it in Israel. Initially, I was only there for 1 year. They just said it would be a 1 year of service. But it took me about almost that long just to become accustomed to the culture and the climate and all that kind of stuff. And I really wanted to stay longer. So they extended my visa so that I could stay indefinitely. And so that was absolutely fabulous. And then that way I was able to do a project that was really quite significant for the time, because
Yep.
they had all these amazing gardens with plants, but their budget, they had a very low budget for the for the gardens at the time. And so the quality of the plants that they had, they would just buy the rejects from all the nurseries nearby, and they were not very good quality, and they weren't very vibrant colors. So I did a bit of investigating to find out about what was the original plan with these gardens, and what kind of colors and what kind of flowers did they actually want. And so I found out that they actually wanted primary colors, like really deep, rich, dark blue, purpley blue and bright yellow and really bright reds. And so I used to go to Tel Aviv on the bus every month or so to go and buy seeds from this old Jewish man that just sold plant seeds. So I
Yep.
took pictures of him of what colors we wanted, and so he gave me seeds, to produce those kind of plants. And I said I want 5,000 plants of these or 10,000 of those or whatever. And so that's what we did. But I actually suggested to the manager of the gardens at the time that we should have our own nursery. And so he said, "Yeah, great idea, do it." And so I ended up doing it. That became my project there for the last year or so that I was there. So we because initially they had a little greenhouse that was on a mountain, and I had to push this wheelbarrow up and down the mountain every day, like about
Yep.
5,000 times. And I got so sick of it. I thought there's just got to be a better way. So you ask the question, right?
Yep.
How can we make how can we make this work better? And suddenly, bing, I get this idea that we should maybe do something further away. And I think my camera just jumped. Um, and it was another Baha'i site, but it was on a flat plain, so it made it really easy to work. And so we built 4 big greenhouses there. I traveled all around Israel. I borrowed somebody's car just to find out what kind of greenhouses would be economical and really easy for anybody to be able to just work in and do whatever they had to do. And so, of course, I used to just go to all these different greenhouses and ask people, first of all, can you speak English? Most of them could. Israelis are
Yep.
incredibly intelligent and they know many languages. So that's how I did it. I just sort of drove around and got all the ideas, and then I figured out where we could build this and how to do it. So it was really exciting. It's a great project at the time, and those greenhouses are still standing, by the way, after all these years.
Great.
We're still using them. Yeah.
Now you're into essential oils and healing with oils.
Yes.
Was
Yes.
that
That's
was it where you got the interest for it by doing the gardens?
No, that was actually much later. That was in about 2010, 2011. I had been actually, I had really bad migraine headaches for a couple of years, and then I noticed over time that they were actually becoming more intense and more frequent. And I had been going, from one practitioner to the next to try and get some kind of relief. And I finally found someone who told me that actually it was some kind of emotional trauma that I had received.
Yep.
Who knows when? Could have been a childhood thing. It could have been ongoing stuff from, stuff that you just never remember, but it's in your body. Trauma sort of finds its resting place somewhere in your body, and if it doesn't move through you, it kind of gets stuck. And so this practitioner worked on my reflexes because he said a lot of emotional stuckness can stay in your reflexes. So he worked on my reflexes, but he also said because it's emotional, I would recommend that you buy what's called the Feelings Kit, which was an essential oils, a Young Living essential oils kit, which consisted of 6 essential oil blends, and it came with like a protocol of how to apply each oil. And it was all very interesting and kind of weird. And I thought, okay, well, when you're desperate, you'll try anything, right? So
Yep.
I thought, well, I'll try it. I'll buy this kit. I opened a wholesale account because you get 24% off. And so that was really the only reason I opened a wholesale account, just so I could get the discount on the Feelings Kit. And so I used it every day for about 30 days. I think that's when I started to run out of oil. And I actually haven't had one since. So I think that's very interesting. But I wasn't sure if that was going to stay that way. So I ended up buying another Feelings Kit and doing it all over again, just to be sure.
Yep.
And so that was 10 years ago. So it convinced me that these are incredibly powerful oils, and the way they work is not just purely on a physical level. They work on many levels. So it affects
Yep.
you, spiritually, mentally, physically, emotionally, so many different ways. And they seem to have an intelligence of their own. It's like they know where they need to go somehow. And the changes are so subtle. You don't even realize that it's happening until all of a sudden you go, oh wow, that's not there anymore. It's just
Yep.
very subtle and very powerful. So I've been a Young Living distributor for ever since then, and helping people realize that you don't just run off to your practitioner and get pharmaceuticals, because pharmaceuticals generally don't go to the source of a problem, whereas oils do. They know exactly where they need to go, and how to heal you.
What do you think that is?
I think, well, about pharmaceuticals, I think all medications are either blockers, inhibitors, or
Yep.
suppressors. So they don't actually focus on the cause. They don't focus on
Yep.
what's actually causing this pain or this ache or whatever. It's all about stopping the symptom. And these oils, because they're natural, they come from plants. We evolved with plants over the millennia, and so it works together with our cellular makeup.
Yep.
And so that's why they're so incredibly powerful.
So do you use I assume that you would recommend, like, you're a healer is your main thing?
I'm kind of transitioning to that because I'm
Yep.
I'm a cleaner, and I used to be a gardener. But because of all of the things that I've done, I thought, well, now's the time. I have all these skills. I've got this toolbox of skills that I'm not really using,
Yep.
and I think a lot of people would really benefit from what I do. Like the foot reflexology, and from access bars and the oils. So that's what I really want to do. So I'm transitioning towards the healer mode.
Yep. That sounds good. Can you tell us a bit about reflexology, because we've never had someone on the show talk about reflexology.
Okay, so that's something else that I learned a long, long time ago. It's basically a ancient Chinese type of healing modality. You've got reflexes in your feet and your hands and your head, but I'd mainly focus on the feet. You've got reflexes in the soles of your feet that correspond to every organ and tissue of the body. And so by stimulating, by massaging or putting pressure on those points, you're actually opening a lot of blockages, so sort of like the flow of chi, your natural flow of energy. And often when just through gravity, a lot of crystals like toxins and things like that that we have in our bodies end up in our feet. They crystallize and they end up in your feet. And so by massaging those points, you're actually breaking up those crystals. And that's why it's really important to drink lots of fluid when you're having a reflexology treatment so you can flush all
Yep.
those toxins out so your body can get rid of them. So, but that's basically, in a nutshell, what reflexology is.
Yep. And so you'd use that to treat a lot of things, or you just one of your tools?
It's one of the things that I do. I do that at markets. Usually when I do it in people's homes, it takes about an hour. We get to, they soak their feet with Epsom salts and essential oils for a few minutes before I start with the actual foot reflexology. At markets, they don't get to soak their feet, and it's usually just a taster. It's only about 20 minutes or something. And so
Yep.
often it's like at a psychic fair or something like that when people are waiting to have a reading or something. They want to kill some time, so that's when they come and see me and have a foot reflexology while they're waiting for their turn to have a reading.
Now you also do bars. Can you talk about that?
Yeah.
Because a lot of people have heard of them, but there's a lot of people that have just never don't
Yeah, the
know
bars.
anything about it.
The bars. Well, it was actually through Annette who I met at a market. She
Okay.
said, "Come, come to a bar session or come." What was it? A bars course. So I thought, oh yeah, why not? I'll try it. So I did, and it had such a profound effect on me. So I am now a bars practitioner, and I hope to eventually become a bars facilitator as well, where I can teach other people how to do bars, because it's so powerful and it's so important for people to realize that whatever issues we have, they're not even ours. It's just all the stuff that we're carrying, and we can free ourselves of all that stuff. And it's so easy. All you have to do there is you can sit. I've got this amazing, the gravity chairs. Instead of using a
Yep.
massage table, I find it's a lot more comfortable to use one of those chairs that your weight is just evenly distributed in just the right way. And you've got 32 points on your head, which are called the bars. um, and they're bars of energy basically. And so you've got 32 points on your head, and by touching those points, you're actually helping to release a lot of the beliefs and whatever hangups we may have. And it's just an energy healing. It's really, really amazing.
So how did bars change you when you started? What sort of things did help you
It's
deal with or fall away?
it's really hard to describe, but I think I let go of a lot of anxiety. I think a lot of it just feels like you've got sort of pressure on you that you don't know you don't know it's there until it's gone. It's really interesting.
Yep.
You just feel a lot lighter, a lot more relaxed, a lot more joyful, open to new things. It's just a really quite a profound change that I had. And every time I receive, and also even when I give, it just gets better and better. It's like, how does it get any better than this? It just keeps getting better. Yeah.
So, um, you were telling me that you were traveling through India and Nepal. Was was that just just seeing the world? Because you've spent a lot of time traveling.
Yes, I miss traveling. But anyway, yes, India and Nepal. So that was just basically a back-to-back two tours,
Yep.
group tours that we did, because we like traveling on the cheap, basically. But because we're a bit older now, we don't do the backpacking thing anymore. So it's kind of like a between being a luxury and El Cheapo travel. So we did two tours back to back with our son. So it was the three of us traveling together, but we were part of a group of about 20 of us, and they were all Aussies, and it was really a lot of fun. So we started in Nepal and gradually traveled, all over Nepal, went to Kathmandu and spent a few days there, and went down to the border into India, and then traveled through the north of India and, sort of east and west and down to the bottom, basically. And it took 7.5 weeks, and it was really an amazing adventure. I loved it. I was really kind of apprehensive because I wasn't sure if I was ready for being confronted with, poverty and all that kind of stuff, but it was amazing. It was really worthwhile. I'd love to go there again sometime.
So, are you just with the oils? You just facilitate the oils?
I I am a distributor. Well, when I go to markets and I sell
Yep.
the oils, and I also make a lot of stuff with using the oils, so people have an opportunity to try the oils without spending a whole lot of money. So I make mainly sprays using the oil. So you can use them as a body spray or a room spray or whatever. And you can even use some of them that you can spray in your mouth because they're pure, therapeutic grade. So you would spray them in your mouth for lurgies, little things like that. My son always has one by his bedside table, so that sometimes when he wakes up in the morning with swollen glands or a sore throat or whatever, you can just squirt it in your mouth and then you're good to go. So they're really powerful, antimicrobial, and I
Yep.
don't know if I'm allowed to say that. That may be breaking rules of,
No,
because
it's
I'm not a doctor, you see.
that's
I'm not a
okay.
doctor, so I'm not allowed to say it's anti anything. To say
That's
it can
okay.
support you. It can support your health
I've
in
I've
many,
put the
many ways.
disclaimer up the front. This is just for entertainment value. So we're good to
Very
go.
good. Yeah,
That's
so
it.
I'm a distributor for Young Living. So people can buy the oils through me directly, or they can, get on my website and, look at what's on offer. And I always recommend people getting a wholesale account just because you get 24% off, and there are so many benefits to that, rather than ordering them, phoning me up and saying, "Can you order me this?" Then they have to wait for it to arrive, and then I have to get it to them somehow and then get money from them, they have their own account. They can just have it delivered directly to their door. The money gets taken out of their bank account, and it's just really a lot easier that way.
Um, so with your healing, so what sort of stuff can you help people with if they're looking to come to you for healing?
Um, well, with the access bars really helps with anxiety and PTSD and depression and things like that. I'm just sort of reading this off of my notes.
Yeah.
Um, Childhood and emotional trauma. Yeah, just enjoying life more. It just really helps relieve a lot of stress and tension from your life. And the essential oils do much of the same thing, but the essential oils are also very powerful for people that do, psychic healing and readings and things like that, because it really helps open the channels and increase your connection to your higher self. And yeah, it opens a lot of barriers and
So
breaks down a lot of that stuff.
so if someone was channeling or doing psychic readings, what would you recommend to them?
Oh, there are many of them. A lot of the tree oils, like frankincense and sandalwood and things like that, are very, very grounding. I would say white angelica is a really good one for protection. I think particularly at psychic fairs, there's a lot of energy and stuff that may not necessarily be beneficial. Sometimes there's a lot of weird stuff that goes around in those kind of places. So if you put white angelica on yourself, you're actually protecting yourself from a lot of negative energies. But for positive energies, there are so many of them. There's hundreds of them, really. So like I said, the tree ones are good for grounding. There are ones that are very uplifting. There are singles and blends that have a lot of different effects. Some really help you breathe better. Some help you digest. Some help you, clear your brain. You can concentrate better. It's actually called clarity. There are some called peace and calming or stress away. Lots of different brands that have lots of different effects. So I would recommend having a whole. I always have. I'll just show you this for a second
Yeah.
if you want to have a look. This is my collection of opened ones that I have.
Yep.
So this is what I always have with me when I go to markets, or when I go to give foot reflexology treatments at people's homes, so they can actually choose. Some people choose sort of intuitively. They'll just sort of wave their hand over it and pick one, or sometimes they'll ask me. I have actually got an essential oils uh, Bible, I call it, which tells you, what oils to use for what. So we choose, that way, because some people may be feeling a bit depressed or a bit low, or they just experience some traumatic event and they want to, go through that gently. So there's lots of different ones that you can use.
So what's your favorite go-to when you're out and about at a market?
Well, at a market especially, I like to use Abundance. That's one that I just put a couple of drops on the palms of my hand. I rub my hands together and put it on my wrists, and then I breathe in deeply, because Abundance not only helps me, it helps everybody else, because it's wafting through the whole place. Yeah, so that's my favorite one at markets. I love wintergreen. Um, Wintergreen is actually a powerful pain blocker, but I just love the smell. Endoflex has also got a beautiful smell, but Endoflex is really good for your endocrine system. So a lot of
Yep.
people these days have endocrine issues, like with their thyroid or their adrenals or whatever, because we just push ourselves way too hard. We're not very gentle with ourselves, and so our endocrine system often suffers. So Endoflex is a really powerful oil blend for that. What else? Yeah, so you would just put a couple of drops on the palms of your hand, rub your hands together. You can put it, like on your throat for
Yep.
your thyroid, or just above your kidneys, just behind your back. Just sort of hold your hands there, and it's absorbed through your skin, and it instantly goes into your bloodstream, and it goes where it needs to go. Another favorite, peppermint. Peppermint is excellent for digestion, for headaches, for congestion, helps you breathe. It's fabulous. So peppermint is in a lot of the breathing and digestive blends that they make up, and of course it smells amazing. And you can put a lot of them in your drinks. You can add them to your, if you make just for hot water, you could add a
Yep.
drop of lemon oil or peppermint oil or whatever. So it really opens up all the passages. So it's really good.
So what's the benefit of just, say, like using peppermint oil as opposed to just eating peppermint leaves or something like that?
Oh, well, the leaves, I'm not sure exactly how much it takes to make a bottle of oil, but peppermint leaves, it's actually the fragrance of the peppermint that's the oil itself. But to extract that oil, you're going to need, like a huge, I don't know how many pounds of peppermint leaves, fresh leaves, to distill them. Drying them actually destroys the benefit, the therapeutic effects of it. So you would have to use fresh leaves, and it takes an awful lot of leaves to get just a tiny little bit of oil out of it. So that's why it's a lot more potent, a lot more powerful.
So I've just got a question that's come up from one of the guests, one of the viewers. They're just asking, with bars, are the points, the 32 points in the head, are they the same as meridians or acupuncture or pressure points?
No, not at all. It's actually really fascinating, because when you put your fingers on those spots, it's almost as if your head was designed to have fingers touching them. So it's like you've got little divots, kind of like a bowling ball, has has holes in it. Your head actually has like these little places where your fingers just fit perfectly. And so it's not to do with meridians or anything like that. Um, it's just spots on your head that sort of have energy. So first, when you're first making contact with a client, you're just sort of getting the energy flowing. So that's called pulling, energy pulling. And then when you start to touch those places on your head, you can actually sort of start to feel, So at first I couldn't feel anything, but now I can actually feel it. It feels kind of like a tingling sensation on my fingertips if I know I'm on the right spot. And sometimes it actually gets really hot, and sometimes I actually get really hot. So I know that there's a lot of energy flowing. But no, it's not like meridians. The access bars was actually one of those things. I'm really fascinated with people that seem to channel things from higher realms. So Gary Douglas was the founder or discoverer of access bars, and he just basically started asking questions because even though his life was perfect on the outside, it would appear that it was. He was just not really fulfilled in life, not really full of joy or whatever. And he just kind of asked some questions like, "There's got to be more. What is there? What is this life about? Why am I here? What's the purpose of life?" And somehow the answer came to him, and it was just somehow channeled. And I think he still channels a lot of stuff. So some of these things are changing as time goes on. So I'm really fascinated with people that somehow have a connection to the higher realms, and this stuff just comes to us through them. And so I find that really, really fascinating. I don't know if I answered any question or not. I'm kind of
No,
babbling
that's all
now.
right. So it's based on releasing energy blockages.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just amazing. Yeah. So basically you touch, there's about how many? 10, 12 different positions, I think,
Yeah.
that you hold your hand. So you hold your fingers on the each spot for about 5 minutes. So the whole process takes roughly an hour. You can make it last as long as you like, if you want to, if you're happy to lie in one place for longer than an hour. But I think that seems to be the ideal length of time, only because often people don't have time constraints, and sometimes you start to feel a bit twitchy after an hour. So,
Yeah.
but often they almost go to sleep. Some people feel the need to talk through the whole process, um, and it doesn't really affect. Um, I don't think it really affects what happens, the outcome, because the energy is still flowing whether you're talking through it or not. And as a practitioner, I don't have to really stay focused or concentrate or be thinking about anything in particular. It just, once it's running, once you got the hose turned on, it just keeps flowing. It's really amazing.
So in your spiritual growth, what has been the biggest? What's been a big standout for you to help you to understand what is what?
Well, I always sort of go back to the Bahai teachings, the Bahai
Yep.
faith, but there's one thing in particular that really stands out for me, and that is that it says in the Bahai writings that man's reality is his thought. And so I find that our thinking, our thoughts are really our spirituality. Our true essence is our thoughts. And so you have to be really careful about what you're thinking about, because that's what creates your reality. So if you're thinking about all these horrific things that are going on at the moment and just focus on that, and you become really fearful and full of anxiety and all that stuff, it's really not good for you. It's not good for your spiritual growth. It's not good for the world at large, because you're focusing on the negative. And I think that's what we're somehow programmed to do, to focus on all that stuff. Um, but I think the secret to living a really fulfilled and joyful life is to be able to be really strong within yourself, with all the crap that's going on, just swirling around you and being completely unfazed by it. I think that's really important. And so our thoughts, and our feelings and our actions are all connected to each other. And so being able to be, I think that my purpose, for existence on this planet is to be a joyful being and to be able to pass that joy on to other people, and being unaffected by all the muck and the sludge and the horror that's swirling around us. You can engage into that if you really need to, if you find you have to. Sometimes we have to, to navigate through this life, you sometimes have to sort of go with the whatever's happening. But I think it's really important to be able to refocus and center yourself in who you are. So you have to go within, and yeah, I think that's really it.
So if you could go back in time when you were just starting to work things out spiritually, what would you tell yourself?
Oh, good question. Um, don't don't stress. Everything will be okay. It doesn't matter, because now I realize that our physical, we're so concerned about
Yeah.
our physical bodies, but because we are actually souls, we are spiritual beings with a physical body, and we're traveling through this physical realm at the moment. And I think its purpose is to teach us a lot of things, and we're supposed to learn a lot of virtues and values and qualities and things like that in preparation for what's to come after we discard our physical body and continue on through our spiritual journey. So had I known that, back then, I would have realized that no matter how I end up leaving this world, it doesn't really matter, because your soul just carries on. It's just like traveling, walking through a door, I think. Much like, when you're born, you're living in the life of the womb, and then when you're born into this world, you've left that world behind. You can't go back there. I think it's a very similar process when we move into the next realm. So I don't think we should be really fearful of, our ultimate physical end, because it really doesn't matter as long as we can stay true to ourselves in that process.
So what do you have you got any ideas what happens after all this when we go up to that next level?
Well, I think that's one of the mysteries. We can only find those things out through people that have been there and come back. And I think there's probably a reason for that. And I have a feeling that it has something to do with, it would just be so absolutely wonderful that we would just want to end this life as soon as possible. And suicide is not recommended, because we're here for a purpose. Even though life can be absolute hell, and you just don't want to go on for many
Yeah.
people. And I think I've actually been there in the past. I've been there a few times where I just think, what's the point? I just want to end it. I don't want to go on anymore. I think that if you just keep breathing, just focus on breathing, you can eventually breathe through it and just stay alive. No matter how hard it gets and how horrible it gets, it's really worth staying here. So I think suicide is not an option. The best thing is to make the best of the situation, and quite often, instead of focusing on myself and my own worries, it's often good to help other people. Like do
Yeah.
charitable works for others, and then you suddenly realize, wow, I'm really fortunate that I don't have what they have, or whatever. So it really changes your perspective.
So tell us about your different websites and what you offer on those.
My websites. I have two websites. I have my Young Living website,
Yep.
which we've already spoken about, and I have my Lifewave website. So Lifewave, I didn't actually get any notes to prepare myself for Lifewave. Lifewave is an amazing healing, natural healing kind of thing. I think it goes hand in hand with the oils, because it has to do with crystals. And I think crystals also have very, very powerful healing properties. So it's about I can't even remember his name. This is terrible. Anyway, he was asked by the oh, who are they called? He was asked to create some kind of a substance for people that work in submarines, you know, the Navy
Yep.
SEALs, who have to be able to stay really focused in a really confined environment without losing focus and without getting tired and all that kind of stuff. And so they wanted this particular individual to create, because he used to work for NASA. So they wanted him to create something that was completely drug-free and harmless and didn't accumulate in your body and, you know, had all these amazing properties. And so he invented it. So he invented Lifewave. So it was initially created for these Navy SEALs. So it had no drugs. It was caffeine free. It didn't actually enter the body. So they're patches. They're like little Band-Aids, little round Band-Aids that you put on this is to do with meridians, your acupuncture points, and they actually stimulate your body to give you energy or whatever. So basically the crystals, when they come in contact with your skin, they produce light, and that light goes into your body and it stimulates your body to produce various things. So you can get the one that it stimulates your body to produce stem cells. So it heals a lot of injuries and damage that's been done, you know, to your cells or within your body or whatever. And there are different patches for different purposes. So some are for like the stem cells, some are for detoxing, some are specifically designed for pain relief. And and for weight loss and for, you know, just absolutely everything. There's about I think 10 or 15 different ones. It was invented in the United States, so some of them have not yet been released here in Australia, but we have a really good amount of them available. So I sell those to people. I have a stock that I can sell so they can just try before they buy. But also you can go on my website and order directly from there. So it's in America, so you have to pay the postage from America plus the exchange rate, but they are really amazing. So crystals, when they touch your skin and produce
Yep.
light, to me it's a little bit like vitamin D. You know, when you're out in sunlight, the sunlight penetrates your skin and it stimulates your body to produce vitamin D. So to me, it's a similar kind of a thing.
Well, Tina, all the in the show notes, you've got all the links to all Beady's sites. So, well, is there anything else you want to add before we wrap it up?
Anything else I want to add?
Yeah, it's your show. I'm just here to.
It's my show. Well, thank you very much.
Yeah, I'm just here to ratchet up.
That's totally awesome.
They don't want to listen to me.
I want to get back to Young Living, actually, because it's not just about the essential oils that they produce. They also have a lot of personal care products, nutritional products, and many like beauty products and all that kind of stuff, cleaning products. So I'm really into Young Living because so many people just go to the shops and buy stuff off the shelf without even thinking what's in it. The ingredients, you don't read the ingredients, you don't go on the internet and say, okay, what's this thing called, you know, whatever. And what are the effects of that on my body? Because people don't realize that whatever you put on your skin is actually absorbed into your bloodstream, and it often is very toxic, and it can land in various organs and tissues in your bodies, and it accumulates there because your body can't break it down. A lot of these things are so incredibly toxic. So when you go to your cleaning products and personal care products and all that, if you don't want to read labels because you can't be bothered, which I don't blame you, I would highly recommend just buying them from Young Living because they have absolutely everything you need, and they're completely free of toxins, and they are an ethical product. So you can go and visit their farms. There's no other essential oils company in the world that actually allows you to go and visit the farms. In fact, I don't even know if there's many essential oils companies that grow all their own plants. So they are really fussy about the purity of their oils. And Gary Young, who's the founder of Young Living, he talks about the purity of the soil. It's all about the soil. So if the soil that they grow their plants in has ever been exposed to chemicals, they just don't do it. So Young Living has purchased land around the world that has been pristine land. It has either never been exposed to toxic chemicals, or it hasn't been exposed for at least 50 years. So that's the kind of land that they will grow these oils on. And it's interesting to note as well that the essential oils industry has no governing body whatsoever. And what that means is that essential oils companies can say a lot of things that aren't true, and there's no regulatory body to say that you have to tell the truth, and that whatever you say that they do has to be true. So that's why when you look stuff up, on the internet about essential oils, there's so much misinformation and disinformation, and you don't know what is real and what's fact and what's fiction. But with Young Living, you can actually go and visit their farms. You can go look at their labs. You can actually go and do volunteer work on the farms, and you meet the people that are growing the plants, and it's just really amazing. So they are completely chemical free. They are ethical, and they are really good for the planet. So it's almost they're working towards being a zero waste company, which is something pretty amazing. So they recycle everything. They don't use any plastics. All their packaging is wrapped in, paper, and no plastics. So they're really conscious of the environment, and also people. They have a foundation, the Young Living Foundation, where they help people around the world with whatever issues. You just have to look on my website and find out the amazing things that they do for people around the world.
That's awesome. I've never really looked. I've got a few. I've got a few oils that I use, but I don't actually use them for any ailments and that. I just use them in oil burners and stuff like that.
Yeah, beware, because a lot of people, they say, why would I pay, $50 for Young Living oil when I can get it for $5 at the health food shop, peppermint or
Probably not
whatever.
the same. Yeah.
It's absolutely not the same. Most essential oils are just synthetically produced in a lab, and they've never even seen any plant material, because you can produce a lot of fragrances just in the laboratory by experimenting with different chemicals. So, but these are pure plant essences, and the time that they've been distilled is also really crucial, because like certain constituents come out into the oil from the plant, because you want as many constituents as possible in there, because that's what really helps you heal. And so sometimes if you overcook it, you'll just kill off all those constituents. So the timing and the temperature and all of that is really crucial for every single plant that they distill.
So, if someone buys oils from you, do you have stock in
I do have
Australia?
stock.
Yeah.
Yes. Yep. I live in Port Wollonga, and I do have stock. So if you want me to post something out to you, it costs I think now it's $9.15 postage for anything that's under 2 kilograms.
Yeah.
Alternatively, you can order it yourself through my website, but I do have a lot of stock because I go to markets.
Okay. So on social media, how do people get hold of you on social media, or is it just through your websites?
I have a Facebook page. I actually have several Facebook pages, so that's on the links that I think you've shared.
Yep, they're in the show notes.
Yeah, and I also have a community group for our little community veggie garden that we have down the road. So if you're into growing food, I have a feeling that there's going to be some food shortage issues coming up very soon. So if you want some inspiration for where to start and how to do your own in your own neighborhood, I'm happy to help with that as well.
So tell us about the garden. You're not having problem growing anything at the moment, because I've had some things go funny this year in my garden. Just not liking it.
Oh, it's really amazing. I never realized how easy it would be to grow veggies. It started out on a neighbor's verge, because this particular neighbor was unable to look after his property for a long time. In fact, this place has been empty for a long time, and it was starting to look really bad. So I just sort of have been thinking about growing a vegetable patch on a verge somewhere, and suddenly, bing, I had this idea. Let's, clean up this guy's property and grow it there. And so just before we started, I noticed that the council had actually sprayed the verge with herbicide because you could see the grass, the weeds all
Yep.
going yellow. And I thought, now this idea has just gone out the window because we can't grow organic veggies here. So then a group of us got together and we decided we could actually grow on top of this rather than in the soil. We can grow it on top of the soil. So we covered the soil with thick layers of newspaper, and then we just put mulch on top of that, which is just basically wood chips, just straight out of the chipper truck.
Yep.
And then we put a layer of chook poo on top of that, and then straw on top of that. So it's like lasagna, right?
Yep.
Straw on top of that. And then we put like little divots. We just sort of put little holes in the straw and filled those holes up with compost. And then we planted seedlings into that. So the roots never actually went below the layer of the newspaper. They just stayed above the newspaper. And it grew like mad. We had squashes, we had tomatoes, we had corn, and this is the first year that we've tried it. It was just really amazing. Yeah, it was really, really good. So now we've pulled up all the summer stuff, and now we're starting to plant a few winter things. And we just received a donation of apple tree, so that's really exciting. Somebody
Oh,
decided
nice.
to donate a pink lady apple tree, which we planted just the other day. So it's very exciting.
That's brilliant. I love gardening, but I live near
Good.
the beach. Oh, well, you live near the beach too.
I
But
do.
I'm just, I don't know. I don't know what it is. I live near the airport. I'm just struggling to get things going.
I
Um,
think grow it on top of the soil instead of in the soil. That might be your
yeah,
secret.
yeah. The spinach is like spinach. I'm used to spinach just going nuts, and this year the spinach has
Ah,
been struggling. It's probably
oh,
my
that's
lack of
interesting.
gardening knowledge. Um,
Well, I have this very strong belief that when you work together as a group, there's something about it that creates um, something magical. I think because it was a collaborative effort, I think that had an effect on the garden itself, made it grow rather than growing it all yourself.
yep.
I think when people come together for a common purpose, there's just magic in that. Sounds bizarre, I know, but I really believe that.
Oh no,
So, so you need to get some people to join you.
some people join me. So I got to start growing more things than just chili, varieties of chili.
Yeah, that's right.
Um, Someone's asking, my granddaughter just suffers with severe burns. Is there anything that you can recommend?
Oh, lavender oil is really, really good for burns, but you have to be careful again with what lavender because of the plants that you use. Most lavender that you purchase is actually lavandin, which is like a hybrid of lavender, and it actually contains a lot of camphor, which would actually cause the burn to be more severe. So you have to use pure lavender, which is Lavandula angustifolia. So the pure lavender is what you need to use, and you can dilute it. You can mix it with some kind of a base oil, like maybe organic coconut oil, or even castor oil. Pure hexane-free organic castor oil is also really, really good for your skin. So I would recommend lavender. Number one would be for burns. I've heard some amazing results with burns with lavender.
So most of the stuff that you'd get, like the plants that you'd get around the place from hardware shops and stuff like that, that would be the hybrid, or is it quite common?
Yes, most of them are a hybrid. Even the seeds that you buy are hybrid seeds. So it's good to get heritage plants. A lot of the plants that I have now, yeah, there's sort of a mixture. Some people grew them from seed, so hopefully we can collect seed from them eventually. But yeah, the hybrid plants you can't really produce. It's interesting because there's just like 3 or 4 families globally that own all of the food of on planet Earth, like which is kind of a scary thought. So that's why it's really important, I think, to start collecting heritage seeds or joining, a heritage um, plant society or whatever, because
Yeah.
they grow the really good stuff that you can actually collect the seeds from and grow them. So hybrid plants don't produce viable seed.
Yeah, it's fascinating where it's going now. Is people just don't realize how much stuff's been modified and stuff that's just not really what it's meant to be.
That's right.
It's just, and most people, unless you educate yourself, it's pretty hit and miss with stuff this day and age.
I know there's so much misinformation and disinformation out there that you don't know what to look for, where to find the answers, and all that kind of stuff. But just know that most of the food that you buy, if it has an ingredients label on it, a list of ingredients, it probably isn't fit for consumption, for human consumption. It's best to just stick to fruit and veg, and organic meat if you're a meat eater.
Yep.
Yeah, and not buy all that other, because we're
Processed.
poisoning ourselves. Every day we're poisoning ourselves just a little bit, just enough to, develop symptoms, and you think, oh, I must be getting old, and you think, nah, it's not age. It's got nothing to do with age. It's because you're poisoning yourself and you've been doing it all your life. In fact, poison is passed on through the generations. So I probably inherited a lot from my parents and my grandparents.
Yep.
And so it's really important to help clean up your system. And that's where I got really interested in the medical medium. So look him up. He's amazing. He makes a point of saying that he says, I have absolutely no medical training. I'm not a doctor, but I have a connection to, he calls it the spirit of compassion, actually. So, you get his books and you read that. I follow him. I'm addicted to him, actually, the medical medium. Anthony William, he's amazing. So he really he's written a whole book on celery juice and how important it is to help pull out a lot of the toxins, heavy metals from your body, as well as a lot of the viruses and things that are lodged in our system that just lie there dormant, waiting for a perfect opportunity to suddenly emerge.
Why celery juice?
Celery juice. He just says celery juice has.
I can't stand celery.
I know. I know so many people that hate celery. And then people will say, "Oh yeah, I hate celery, but I just add a little bit of lemon juice, or I add a bit of this or a bit of that." And he says, "Nah, you're adulterating it. You're wrecking it. It totally destroys the healing properties of the celery juice." So I recommend getting used to the taste. I've watched videos of people gagging it down. It's really funny to watch them. Just take one little mouthful and then like, but they get it down eventually, and you do get used to it because it's really, really powerful stuff. It's really good.
Yeah, well, I'm just waiting for some ghost chilies to ripen properly, and I was going to do an online video of my brother eating it. See if that works.
Watch the smoke come out of his ears.
Oh, well, I did one when I thought it was ready, but it was actually, it didn't ripen. It's just ripening now. They're going from purple to red. And I thought they were just purple, and I thought it was ready. And he ate it, and he just ate the whole thing. He's like, "What? Tastes like capsicum." Like, damn. Phone away.
God, siblings, what they do to each other.
Oh yeah, he had it coming. Is there anything else you'd like to add about anything that you do?
Anything else? I don't know. I'm sure I'll think of a lot of stuff when we're done.
Yeah, it's usually the way, isn't it?
Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. So people can call me, they can email me, they can text me. If you've got any questions at all, check out my websites, my Facebook page. If you've got any questions, yeah, I welcome questions. I don't know if I can answer them right away. I'll have to look stuff up maybe, but I'll do my best.
Well, so what advice would you give what advice would you give our viewers that would help them in day-to-day life? What would it?
I would say, please don't despair. I mean, so many people are in such a state at the moment of absolute fear and paranoia and distress. I think especially for people that have got young children, young families. And I think that there will be a good outcome. I just hope it comes sooner rather than later. But I am an optimist, and I really believe that things are going to get better. They're probably going to get a lot worse before they get better, but I think we need to just hang in there, and
Yeah.
please don't despair. And I really believe in the power of prayer, connecting to your God, or whatever you want to call it. I really believe in that, just taking some time out to be by yourself and be with your creator and just say prayers to give you strength to pull through it all.
Well, thank you, Beady, for being on the show. It's been very informative.
Thanks very much for having me. This was a
Yeah,
really
that's okay.
kind of a last minute thing that just suddenly came up.
Oh, yeah,
It's
someone,
awesome.
was it who? Someone in the audience changed their. It's all right. I won't get stuck into them. I think they're watching. Oh, yeah, they are watching. Better not. I'm still getting my head around the celery juice. Do I want to be that? Do I want to be that cleansed?
Just look him up. Look up Anthony William, the medical medium, and celery juice, and he's got lots and lots of videos on that topic. And there are also lots of videos of people trying to get it down without without it all coming back again.
Actually, yeah, I'd be gagging. Yeah, Amanda, I'd be gagging too.
I do it every morning. I've been doing it almost 2 years now, virtually every
Take,
morning.
does it take much celery? How much celery would you use?
It does, almost a whole celery, almost a whole one, because you have to strain it as well. You have to get all the pulp, the fiber out, so it's just the
Yeah.
pure juice. And you have to drink at least 500 mils. So if you can imagine drinking a half a liter of celery juice first thing in the morning on an empty stomach.
Charming.
There's a challenge for you.
So has your garden, has that community garden, have you like, oh no, we're doing half of it celery?
I can't grow celery for some reason. I don't know why. I've been trying, like I save the stumps, the bottom of it, and I put them in water and they grow roots, and then they start shooting leaves up through the center. And
Yeah.
I've been planting and planting and planting, and they all just disappear. They just kind of rot away into the soil. So I've got a handful that are growing now, but I don't know what's going to happen. Fingers crossed they'll survive and actually make some celery. But I mean, when you think how long it takes to grow one celery, wow, it's hard work.
It is, isn't it? I'm growing onions, and I'm just thinking I've got a ton of onions in, but I eat so many of them in day to day. I'm thinking I'm never going to keep up.
You can share with your neighbors, do swaps. It's a really good opportunity to get to know your neighbors. If they've got carrots or zucchinis or whatever, so you can say, I've got onions. You want to swap?
Yeah, onions and chili.
It's a good way to get to know the people in your neighborhood. I think that's really important now too at this particular time, because there might be somebody isolated and alone living in your street and you don't even know they're there, and they're probably afraid to come out.
Yep.
It'd be good to just knock on somebody's door and say, "Hi, how are you doing? Can I get you something?"
Yep.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah.
I mean, I did that when the a couple of years ago when the sea thing started. I just saw an old lady over the road, and I just went and chatted to her and said, if you need anything, just let me know. I'll go and get it for you.
Oh,
Any of that.
fantastic. Oh,
And
good neighbor.
Occasionally she brings me cookies and
Oh,
and
isn't that
cake,
good?
and then I go and check her car oil, and do stuff like that for her.
Fantastic. That's awesome. I
But
love
it's
it.
good. It's good to do and get to know, your neighbours. It's because you never know. There could be something in it for you as well. It goes both ways.
Yeah.
So we should be more of a community. That's because days now where everyone's on their device and everyone closes off from each other. It's just we're going to get away from that.
Yeah, this whole thing was really created to separate people, so we really need to get back together. I've had potlucks at my place, neighborhood potlucks. I make a flyer and put it in all the letterboxes and say, "Come on over." That was during the summer, of course. The weather was a lot better. We had them outdoors, and so I've had over 20 people over, and they loved it. It was fantastic because they all got to know each other, have a good old chin wag, and wonderful food. It's really nice.
Yep. And then the barter can and it opens doors for bartering too.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, it
You
does.
know,
Yeah,
so people we sell ourselves short. Every time we need something, we've got to go to the shops where there could be an exchange with your neighbours, and all sorts.
exactly. Yeah,
Very
exactly.
important. Oh, well, thanks for coming on the show, Beady. It was lovely having you. When's your next? Are you at a market sometime soon? Your next
I've
market?
got I've got a market, a Let's Market at the Echidna Winery in McLaren Vale on the 29th of May, and that's going to be early in the morning. I think it's like 8 till 12 or something, 8 till 11.
Yep.
And then there's another one, the Almond Blossom Festival is coming up in July. And then there's another psychic one that's not till October. I think there's a few coming up, but I'll be advertising those on my Facebook pages anyway. But the
Yep.
most recent one is the one coming up very soon is the Echidna Winery one. So this is their first one. And the owner of this winery is hoping that it will grow and they will have them every month. So
Awesome.
that'll be really good. Yeah.
I like markets. They're good. They're good fun.
Yeah. Good fun.
Yeah,
Get to talk to people.
that's it. A bit too much. I can remind myself to get back to work. Okay, thanks once again. Thanks for coming on such short notice.
Thank you very much. It was
That
wonderful.
was
It
awesome.
was awesome. Great to meet
Okay.
you.
Okay, see you everyone. And if you want to get hold of Beady, just reminding you that in the show notes, you can just expand the show note. It's got all the links for all the websites. Anything you want, it's all there. So it's easy to find. Okay, thank you, Beady. Thanks again.
Thank
See
you.
you everyone.
Thanks.
And have a good night. And I'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye. See you. Thanks.